Some grifters decided to yell at feminists in order to get some clout, which led you here to see what all the hullabaloo was about. So I don't know what you've heard, but this is the red pill. What we do? Simple. We swap notes to fix men. We are a bunch of dudes who know about 80% of what we need to know about dating, about relationships, about raising a family, basically anything a man would want to do. Now, most of us eventually hit on some hard times and found out that nobody really wanted to help a man when he needs it the most. So, typical guy, we decided to pull up our bootstraps and do it ourselves. By the end of this video, I guarantee you're going to be just that little bit smarter when it comes to your relationships, women, dating, life in general. My name's Ryan. Welcome to the locker room. I broke up with my LTR of 2 years. She's 29, I'm 26. I ended up meeting her a few days ago after 2 months of no contact, and she told me she's back with her ex-fiancé of 7 years, the guy she originally broke up to be with me. The night we met, we ended up sleeping together and nothing was off limits. Afterwards, she tells me she loves her fiancé, but not in the same way that she loves me. She says that he's her partner and I'm her lover. She said she's stable with him, but it's impossible for her to be like that with me. She started saying other things, like when she hugs him, she thinks of me, and sometimes she can't think of him like a man because his body is not like mine. I've never seen him before, but she's never described him as physically attractive. She also told me that she loves everything about my face and body and that I'm her dream guy, but she just can't be stable with me like she can with him. She says she talks to him about me, and there's so many things that remind her of me. She says she checks to see when I'm online on WhatsApp every day and is checking my social media a lot. What I don't understand is, if this is how she truly feels, then why did she go back to him? When me and her first met, she told me she felt like a slave with him and doesn't want the life he offered. Fast forward 2 years and she's back with him. And why is he taking her back? She clearly doesn't respect him. She also told me that he treated her really good and was calm and stable, but look what happened. She left him for me, and now she's cheated again with him, with me, this Christmas. I mean, she says she feels guilty, but it's more like that guilt you feel when you sabotage a business deal, like, I shouldn't have done this because I already agreed to do that. She left to go on vacation with him 30th of December, which is the day after. She literally woke up with me. She went back home, packed her stuff, and then got on the plane with him. Passion was crazy, but impossible to maintain for a stable relationship. What I don't understand is, why has she gone back to him when we clearly doesn't feel any attraction or passion for him? I mean, I saw her photos today. She looks happy on vacation, although all of her pictures are just of her, so maybe she's just happy that she's on a vacation that he paid for, not because she's actually with him. And since breaking up with her 2 months ago, I've been with other girls and nothing hit the spot. And that's why I contacted her again. I don't know where to go from here. Of course, I don't want to be with her, but I can't stop thinking about her, and I can see her online, on WhatsApp all the time, which means she's stalking me or thinking about me while she's with him. After the gifts and the perfect new year with him, she's going to be in the same situation she was 2 years ago. Bored and passionless. Or maybe not. I don't know for sure, but that's what I think. Maybe she chose him because she wants money and a kid. I mean, she can't get that with me. I have money, but I've never given it to her. He seems to. I also told her, yeah, I don't want kids. He has money and can give her a home and a kid, but he doesn't have options. She even admitted to me that they only do it once per week, sometimes twice. But with me, she calls me 5 minutes after we split, telling me that she misses me already and my next girlfriend is so lucky. Then she has to hang up because her boyfriend's calling at 7. My question is, how do I stop the addiction to her, and where should I go from here? I would appreciate some help. I have so many options, but I can't stop thinking about my LTR, and I don't know why. A couple of terms before we get started. Lover and provider. There's a dichotomy, it's a female mental model actually on this one, where women will either see the man as a lover or a provider. There's a great book called Practical Female Psychology for the Practical Man that kind of goes over this. But if you're Catholic and reading this, you probably know already about that. That's the Virgin Mother and the Whore of Babylon dichotomy. A lot of priests end up talking about it. A lot of guys have that mental model, and this is the female equivalent of that. There's a reason when most guys are first starting to approach women, and the advice that they get is to escalate fast and escalate early. Because generally, within the first 10 seconds of a woman knowing you, she's going to know whether she sees you as a romantic option or as a friendly or backup option. And so the earlier you establish which one she sees you as, the sooner you're able to stop wasting everybody's time or accidentally fixating on somebody who's just not into you. My running theory is this is why a lot of guys are so hesitant about approaching and escalating and say that they actually like or any sort of romantic feelings towards a girl, because that puts it out there that she might not feel them, and a guy would much rather pretend like he can than have that certainty to know that he can't. And it comes from a position of scarcity, because if she's the only one in your mind you have as an option right now, anything that rocks that boat is going to attack your ego, and your ego will fight desperately to keep you from doing that. Alpha behaviors and beta behaviors. It's a bit of a play on the mental model we just described, but in this case, keeping in mind there's two different sets of behaviors and qualities a man has. There's the alpha ones, which are the ones that tend to drive romantic attraction and desire. And then there's the beta ones, which drive comfort, stability, those sort of things. Now, they both have their uses, and you can't think of them as one being bad and one being good. It's not how it works. In this case, it's kind of a good example of why too many alpha behaviors could be a bad thing. Now, whether that's him having them or it's her perceiving them doesn't really matter. The point is here, she sees him as the lover archetype, and she sees her fiancé as the provider archetype. The problem is, she has them both on these polar opposites. So what happens with the alpha behaviors, or the lover archetype, is that they get all kinds of romantic, genuine desire, heavy, strong emotions, but it's not sustainable. And so after a little while of dating or relationship, in this case 2 years, which I'm impressed it lasts that long, but it eventually becomes the sort of thing that a girl can't handle the emotional highs and lows like that, so they kind of strive for something more stable. You'll see it actually with a lot of girls that are at the tail end of I wasted my 20s, where they want to settle down with somebody that's not as exciting, a little more stable, so they can take a break, take a breath, and relax. The problem is, once you've had that experience for an extended period of time, it makes it impossible to switch to a more stable emotional roller coaster for a length of time. So after a while, somebody will get bored. What you often hear is people saying, oh, they got the itch again. And that's when the exciting rushes start coming back. It's not a very good thing. It's not healthy. And if you're the guy who does nothing but offer comfort, it's basically asking to put a timeline on your relationship. Now that's fine if it's just one of those things you want to do as long as it lasts, and then once it's done, it's done. But you really need to consider that when you're considering investing in a house, in a family, all those other very heavy investments that take a lot of your time and resources. And you have to make sure you're putting them towards somebody that's not going to be bored of you in about a year. Womanese. I use this term jokingly. Essentially, it's understanding that most of the time when women speak, there's a subtext to it or a process within the communication. Her actual words don't matter as much as the reasons she's saying them and the feelings behind them. Now, if that sounds confusing, that's fine. Most guys think so. That's why we initially called it womanese, the idea that it sounds like almost a completely different language. Especially to guys who are used to an open communication style, which involves trading information on a very surface level. But once you understand what you're looking for, you begin to understand why things are the way they are. In this case, the words she said here, you could pretty much gloss over them. They don't really matter. The thing to pay attention to, though, is right now she's in a very heavy and emotionally engaging relationship with this guy, even though it's just a short-term thing. She's got a fiance at home. That's the equivalent to a drug addiction. And if you know anything about people who've had to have a drug addiction, it's that once they're on that high, everything kind of clicks, everything makes sense. They talk with an elated tone of voice. So all these wonderful, nice things she's saying, she believes them wholeheartedly. But they may not be true. The guy back home, in this example, could have probably been a very tall, attractive, handsome man, but women tend to process the world through their feelings. It's not a bad thing. It seems to have worked out well for them, and I'm sure there's a reason for Cave Stacy to do that, to make cave children with Cave Chad. But when you're listening to these things, the one red pill rule that you need to keep in mind is ignore what she says and watch what she does. In this case, from this guy's perspective, she clearly wants her nice, stable life with her nice, stable, well-earning boyfriend. Well, fiance, I guess. But she also wants to have fun with him. It's not that she loves him. It's not that one of these guys is better or worse, because it doesn't really work like that. The one thing that is there for sure is that she's hooked on him. She's hooked on him like heroin. And the boyfriend back home is methadone. And methadone is boring. It's not very fun. But it gets you better. Advice for this guy. This one's a doozy, because his problem isn't accepting that this girl is willing to ruin a relationship in order to have some feelings. His problem isn't accepting that some people just act like this. His problem is he's somewhat hooked himself, and that's what you need to address. Because a lot of guys have this problem without the benefit of this heavy romantic undertone. A lot of times it's the girl breaking up with the guy and then the guy being hooked like this. And it doesn't do him any good because the girl sees him with disgust at that point. So the one good thing for him is that he has an advantage in that she still finds him desirable. So he's already tried weaning himself off of her by finding different other girls. That didn't work for him so much. In this case, it's really no different than you would say about a addiction. He's tried methadone and methadone's not working. The one thing that's worked really well in the past for guys like this is to actually write down what's going on. Unfortunately, the human brain is very bad at understanding the world around it. It likes to understand just enough to get by, and then it stops thinking. And we call that ego. So in his case, he's tried other girls. He goes back to this one. Emotionally, he's still there. But if you go through the process of journaling this stuff, write down the feelings, write down as if you were writing your own autobiography that only you get to read. Now, this is kind of the recommendation for a lot of those own yourself posts that we have on the Married Red Pill, but it would definitely help the guy here. Write down everything. Write down what he thinks of the motivations. If you can get a second person to look over it, or a group of guys in, let's say, a locker room, that's great. Because every guy who's had a problem, there's, first off, 100 guys that haven't had the problem, another 100 guys who have had the problem and are too embarrassed to ask, and about 1,000 guys who have had the problem, have solved it in their own certain ways, and they can offer some insight. As he writes this stuff down, people will look and they'll go, okay, I did this and I did this, it solved this problem. I tried this, it didn't solve this problem. And you seem to have omitted these 3 things which I had when I was going through that. Did you not have them, or did you just choose to ignore them? Great, wonderful questions happen like this, and they kind of expand the guy's understanding. And it's great because watching him right now, you're seeing other people ask these probing questions and really help him to understand the things that he may be ignoring. So the point is, once you do all this stuff, he's going to end up finding exactly what his motivations are, exactly why he finds this girl so enchanting to the point that he can't wean himself off, and he's able to set himself up for success in the future. Because, let's face it, if we were to meet her in real life, you'd probably think of her as that crazy bipolar girl. And she may be. So what's in it for you? This is a great example I know most guys that come here with their questions, they tend to be guys who are having love life problems. In other words, they can't get enough. Girls don't like them. The girl that they're into isn't interested in them. Their wife's leaving. You get the things there. This guy kind of has the opposite problem. He gets the exact kind of problems that those average frustrated guys are having. And he's finding out that that's not really working for him. The fact that he's self-aware enough to actually look into it and try and find an answer, absolutely wonderful. But this is something that you need to understand. You have a good chance of being that fiancé. Most guys who have been around the block a few times have had a girl who was exclusive with their fiancé, with their boyfriend, talked well about him, but still ended up fooling around with them. And it's tragic and it's heartbreaking, but it happens. For the kind of guy who hopes to settle down one day and have a family, stories like this are good because by seeing the other side of the coin, you learn to understand these dynamics more than anybody else could possibly tell you. Hundreds of lines of texts, tens of hours of YouTube videos, and the greatest chicken stock in the world is not going to teach you as much as one guy who's the other guy. So when you see ones like this from Chad on the other side of things, you realize Chad's not really living the perfect life. Chad has the same problems as everybody else. He's just, well, let's face it, his problems are just better than yours. And that's fine. So you learn from it and you move on. An alternate scenario for this guy is pretty much what he's doing now. I'm not going to lie to you. He broke up with her when he realized that she wasn't right for him. Or she broke up with him. I'm not entirely sure, but that doesn't really matter. The fact is they split up. He started dating, getting around other girls, so he has that abundance to know that they're there. The problem he's having now is getting over that emotional connection. And he's starting to write field reports. He's starting to ask the hard questions, and he's starting to look what his motivations are. So I think between that and reading a lot of the material from other men, he's most likely going to get through this one just fine. Most people, once they've had methadone for long enough and read up, they tend to be good. So on that note, I'm going to leave you guys to that. As always, want to give a big shout out and a thank you to the Patreon supporters. Over the new year here, we've grown tremendously. It's awesome. Feel free, links in the bio. Come on in, check it out. We do tons of content for you guys exclusively where we take the gloves off and we talk frankly. But with that, I'll catch you guys later. Cheers.